travel back with me, dear, dear lover of VTS, to a day when all you needed was to eat the face of the other vampires. I miss Beast. Beast was the kind of card that got me to my first Final Five. It was a difficult strategy at the time to play. You had to be careful about your rushes. Cards flowed well. You had less problems as long as you didn't run into enough combat ends. Um, but they were still plentiful enough because it was an era where Majesty hadn't quite been corrected yet. But oh, Beast was a beautiful thing. I grew to love Beast and the combination of drawing out of the Beast of others, a nice card to counter your opponent's ability to maneuver. This keeps them at close range, with the downside of giving them an extra damage they're going to deal to you. For Beast, unfortunately, you don't often get the ability to deal the additional point of damage. Doesn't really matter for Beast, especially because you can Song of Serenity to shrink down their hand size as a byproduct, so you're basically relatively even. Seems fine most of the time. Get a few signposts in there too. Always nice to push Beast's hand size up. Sorry. Strength up. I keep wanting to call it hand size. It does make his claws much bigger and his mouth larger too. But signpost will push you to 4 total damage from Beast. Very, very helpful when you want to knock something down. And of course, classic grapple. Such a stupidly fun card that Jan hates so much. Essential though, unfortunately, for most melee combat strategies, because if they're not counter meleeing you, then they're probably trying to escape from you. And the combination of grapple plus drawing just makes it so impossible for them to leave. They want to hug you. They want to rip your face off, but your face has teeth. And we got some new presents here in all of this. We got Rage. Now, Rage is like a signpost, but really buffed. You once again only really get one, just like Count from Signpost. You can't really benefit from more than one in a combat. However, this stacks with Signpost. So this brings our Beast up to 6 hand damage. It also gives you this bonus card, and do not underestimate the value of this bonus card. It will change games for you, guaranteed. The ability to find a taste when you need one, the ability to find your way into a grapple when you need one, or maybe even that rare occasion where you need an earth shock. I've really been debating also running the one thing I used to play in this deck, but I just can't justify it in the current environment and much of what I feel like I believe about the game. But I so desperately want to run this card that it has been really driving me into it. And that is I cannot believe I'm forgetting the name in this, but that will happen. You get a little overwhelmed. Burning Wrath. This was a pet favorite of mine for playing a 1 or maybe a 2 got a huge blood cost. But you could be swinging for, in this deck now, upwards of 8 aggravated damage. It takes out a lot of vampires forever. We also run, just as a little one of, on Fists of Death, just in case you happen to run in a 10 cap and you happen to find this card. I know it's like rare to have all the things fall into alignment, but when it does, well, you'll see a video on that soon enough. Running a couple of shadowboxing here, which I'm not sure how much I appreciate or not. The problem is I haven't really in this deck played a lot of Mateus. He is very strong if you can get him into combat. We're playing 9 Abuse of Power, so that's one way to do it. But we are kind of dealing with this blood shortage thing that we're trying to rectify in a certain way. We don't have, in a deck like this, a very good way to protect ourselves from bleed. And we're trying to keep the master package pretty thin and pretty nimble. So we're going for minion taps. Our goal here is to minion tap Beast or Mateus down to 2, and then hopefully earn all that back with a nice taste of Vitae later. Of course, against other combat decks, we have to be a little more careful about how we do that. We kind of hope the combat deck is our predator, not our prey, so that it's not as worrisome that we might get blood out. We just have to deal with the fists on fists. But we should be able to figure out how to get the minion tapping down pretty well. Just got to be a little bit more thin about it. Guardian Age will kind of help us break a few of those stalemates, as will Vulnerability. This is largely for emergency situations, like if we have a combat deck as our predator. We can use a Vulnerability to buy ourselves a little time taking out a vampire we might not otherwise be able to take out. That they happen to end up getting torpor just as an accident in one of their rushes on us. It's a neat little, like, stalemate breaker between you and another combat deck. Running a couple of Fame. Well, this is basically just a burn 3 pool. It is a little hard here because we don't have a lot of room to run too much. In a lot of combat, if you run too many other things to do, you don't have room to do the things you need to do. So it's debatable what we want to do to go with the Fame, because usually if you're going to play a Fame, you want some way to pull the vampire out of torpor, you want to dunk them again. But I've really been thinking more about the strategy of swimming upstream. If you can break just enough of the knees of your prey, right, just enough so they can't go hog wild on your grand prey, then you can kind of let people get perpetual single ousts backwards until it's just you versus the prey that you've already kind of broken the legs of. You have to be careful though, because you can end up in weird situations where you've given potentially somebody else an opportunity to win by getting an extra VP along the way that you didn't expect. But if you play it well and you know how to rush well, and some of it is the table kind of not betraying you, you can manage to swim upstream, but we'd have to change a bit of the strategy around here. Fame is probably not the card we want to run in that particular situation. We might want to be a little bit more nimble in our actions and maybe even throw in here an Archon Investigation. It's a little bit of a debate here. This is the kind of thing that I enjoyed playing for many years, but I feel like the format has changed a lot, and I have been more separated than I would like to be from what is sort of the meta strategy, and that will be changing over the next couple of years. So, I think this is one of those decks that has a lot of potential. I think this is one of those decks that I'm going to enjoy playing. You're probably going to see me playing a preposterous amount of, but I really, really do enjoy this style of play. This will be edited as time goes on. Touch of Pain is a card that's just kind of a pet card I enjoy that I want to keep testing out a little bit more. I mean, just a couple more matches with this card in there. It does give you a handful more damage when somebody's playing Big Cat Voters, or, gets a bleed in with a weenie that they, then have to think about, oh God, am I about to be thrown off kilter here? So, a lot in this deck to enjoy. I'd suggest giving it a try. I literally built it in paper because I do so dearly enjoy it. I love you, Beast. Thanks for being a fun part of my life.